There's been some underlying talk in the news cycle about China. You might be thinking it's because of the Wuhan coronavirus, or the fact that it took the World Health Organization an entire year to investigate whether or not it originated from some biolab located very close to the supposed source of the worldwide pandemic outbreak. A pandemic that has destroyed world economies, education, the job market, etc. Whether you believe a year would be enough time to clean up any evidence to support the Wuhan biolab narrative is up for speculation. No, the underlying narrative you might not be holding on to is the fact that it's because of the pandemic, China's economy is slated to overtake the US as the dominant world economic power, which some wealthy influencers I feel might be trying to normalize.
Let me just save everybody time. China won, and now it just plays out. I believe that. China will be the biggest empire in the world. And the many things that we're living through clearly the early stages of the transition of America losing its grasp as the number one alpha in the world.
That's right. We will not have the big swinging dick that is our economic influence in the world in less than 4 years, according to economic forecasters much smarter than I will ever be. This is important for a lot of things, like when we impose sanctions on another country, being intimidating when negotiating trade deals with other countries, but also the psychological implications of seeing America as weaker. Which, I don't know about you, but
if you ain't first, you're last.
Why this matters so much to the Mesh News Project is because the long game I don't feel most think about that this could potentially snowball into. This might seem speculative, but if you know how the Overton window can be used to make you okay with something implemented by powerful people who would sell you out to stay on top, then follow me on this one. The world is facing some pretty major hurdles very soon that will affect the world for a millennia. Our environment is crumbling. Our economy is the beginning steps of a major overhaul with digital decentralized currencies, and even how our 2 decades old digital way of life stands on the world stage for such things as free speech, exploitation of user data, and even how the web has expedited human rights abuses, believe it or not. And as the world is nearing a crescendo for these major policies that will set the pace for how we will conduct society as an inevitable global government, let me just interject and state that we don't support a one world government. We much rather go by the trope that teamwork makes the dream work, but who the fuck are we? It's inevitable, especially since we're going to need to work in unison to fix our only home, this blue marble God-named Earth. Going back to it, but as we are facing this unavoidable near future of a unified world that many say will happen by the end of this century, who do we want setting the pace for how it will work? A country that butchers its incarcerated, using them as a Walmart of certified pre-owned organs, who incarcerate millions of their own because what they believe wasn't cool with President Z, who treat citizens like they are NPCs in a video game, give them a credit score that doesn't take into account human dignity, circumstance, or self-respect, breaking down an individual's participation in their country at just some asshole tied to some volatile score, or the fact a country in question steals so much intellectual property from every other country and reproduces it to sell back to us. Which, I don't know if you know about this, they have a cute name for it. It's called Shanzai. This country also invented islands so they can bend international law to steal natural resources from neighboring island nations like the Philippines. How about the almost unbelievable recent discovery that soldiers in the Chinese army will now have helmets with remote explosive charges in them that will execute the soldiers if the infantry captain gets suspicious of their activity, which will also be tracked via GPS. China is looking to become the dominant economic power in the world, and they don't care about their people. They only use capitalism to further a 100% communist regime. They steal our intellectual property and sell it back to us. They try to bend international laws to steal our allies' natural resources, and they will kill their own soldiers who fight for their country like it's sending a text message. As the world nears an inevitable unified governing authority to fix all the broken shit on this third rock from the sun, what cultural and economic doctrine do you want setting the pace? China or the democratic free enterprise system the US and its allied countries have proven not only works, but is civilization's best swing at fairness and decency in civilization's 6,000 years of existence? The Chinese economic eclipse that is projected to happen in the US by the next presidential election is not a slippery slope, but the beginning of a Rube Goldberg machine that seems harmless, but in actuality could be the beginnings to change global civilization as we know it. The question is, are we as a country going to let this happen, or use strategy and boldness to ensure the American experiment sets the pace for a global future that might not be perfect, but it's the closest we've come to a fair, democratic human civilization since we crawled out of Mesopotamia? It's time the US and our essential democratic allies start to think about the long-term implications of China peaking in any form as a virus to the idea of a republic as a whole. They're playing for keeps, and so should we.